Before we get into this video is going to be a little bit racy, so if you don't want to watch it, I'm okay if you leave. Also, I'm half black and half white, so the two races that we're going to be covering, I'm both of them, so it ain't no racism going on over here. Oh my gosh, I thought that we learned our lesson already. You see, I have an issue when it comes to the NFL draft and NFL draft content. And that is, NFL draft analysts will do whatever they can to minimize the black quarterbacks. I told you I was gonna get a little bit racy, and again, I'm half black and half white, so yeah. I was reading one of those way too early mock drafts by Chris Sharpe at CBS Sports, where he had Kentucky quarterback Will Levis going #1 overall. Will Levis? Now, I don't know about y'all, but me being a college football fan, I thought it was unanimous that the two best quarterbacks in the country are Bryce Young and CJ Stroud by a mile. Oh, Marcus, he's just putting Will Levis there just to stir the pot and get more clicks. Yes, I know that might be a reason as to why he's putting Kentucky quarterback Will Levis at the #1 overall pick. However, it seems just so convenient that whenever there is a black quarterback who is definitively the #1 guy, or whenever there's two black quarterbacks, they gotta throw a white quarterback in there just to white people are still good at quarterback too. Now, please don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to make this video bashing Will Levis. Will Levis is a very solid quarterback. He is a first-round talented quarterback, but he is nowhere near the same level of quarterback that CJ Stroud and Bryce Young are. And it's not even close. You want to know how I know it's not even close? Listen to the description that Chris Sharpe gives in his own breakdown. He says, Levis feels like a quarterback who can eventually be a #1 overall pick. What do you mean eventually? What do you mean eventually? This isn't a high school recruit that we're talking about. We're talking about a guy who's got one more year of college football and then he's going to be drafted. What do you mean eventually? I mean, we're talking about a quarterback in Will Levis who's not even the best quarterback in his conference, going up against the reigning Heisman Trophy winner and one of the Heisman finalists. Real quick, I want to give a shout out to my guy JT O'Sullivan at the QB school, because he does a phenomenal job of breaking down pretty much every quarterback that's out there. And so I had to go do my due diligence, because I wasn't really paying too much attention to Kentucky football last year. Oh, that's my bad. Because I really had to go look, because I've heard of Will Levis, but not being the #1 overall guy. And so I saw my guy JT break down his tape, and he's a very solid quarterback. He's got a quick release. He can make some very quick throws. He doesn't really have a whole lot of touch on his ball. He could scramble a little bit, but he is far. And when I mean far, I do mean he is far from being on the same level that CJ Stroud and Bryce Young are. Again, I don't want this video to be like bashing Will Levis. Again, like I said, to me, he is a first-round talented quarterback. But the first two quarterbacks that are going to be taken off the board, without question, no shaking it up, unless one of them gets hurt, is going to be Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, just whoever you want to take first overall. And really, this is just bringing me back to the draft, where Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson were clearly the top two quarterbacks in their draft class, and they just threw Mitch Trubisky up there and just hyped him up just because. This is almost the same situation. Mitch Trubisky wasn't even the best quarterback in his conference, because Deshaun Watson was the best quarterback in the ACC, and it was two black quarterbacks who were going to be the face of the draft, and they're like, no, we cannot have two black quarterbacks be the face of the draft, so let's throw a white quarterback in there just to, show everybody that the white quarterback can still get it done. I simply just think that it's forced. I get it that, you're trying to make a clickbait title. I know that you're trying to do these things, but to me, if you are supposed to honor the art that is being a sports broadcaster, a draft analyst, you can't just be throwing out these just ridiculously wild claims. Will Levis is not the #1 overall quarterback. It's not close. There's no comparison. There's nothing that Will Levis can do to be the #1 quarterback. He would literally have to have a better season than Joe Burrow did to be the #1 overall guy. And even then, it would still be up for debate, because CJ Stroud and Bryce Young are still going to do what they do. I know this video is a little bit ranty, so I don't want it to go on too long. The main point of me making this video is I just want, when there's just two black quarterbacks, or when there's a black quarterback who is clearly the #1 guy, can they just stand alone? can everybody just focus on them without having to compare them to a white quarterback or compare them to Michael Vick, or just like, can they just stand alone as their own prospect? CJ Stroud and Bryce Young are clearly, hands down, by far the two best quarterbacks in this class. They will be the first two quarterbacks taken off the board, and anybody else who has any other mock draft saying otherwise, you shouldn't respect them. Like, let's keep it a buck. Again, I'm gonna reiterate this because I know people sometimes have a short memory. I'm not saying Will Levis is a bad quarterback. He is a first-round talent, in my opinion. I have him going somewhere between 15 to the bottom of the first round, just depending on where the teams obviously line up. But there is no world where Will Levis is taking before CJ Stroud and Bryce Young. So can we just let CJ Stroud and Bryce Young just shine at the top of the draft like they're supposed to? Please? Please? Can we please just have that without having to add another white quarterback in the mix? Like, come on. And also want to bring up this point. If when I went and looked at Will Levis's highlight tape and he was making some of the most ridiculous throws I've ever seen, I would be like, hey, you know what? Hey, Chris Trapasso had a wild take. I went and looked at the film, and you know what? It actually backs it up. No, he makes solid throws. He forces a lot of throws. He just kind of throws things into coverage. Kentucky's offense also was kind of drawing up some stupid plays every now and again. So, like, you can only really play within the means of the offense. But no, there's no perfect quarterback by any means. But it's like, come on, he's not the number one guy. But when it is warranted, hey, I have no problem. Like, hey, it's not a race thing. Like, I have no problem with the white quarterback being the face of the draft. Like, Trevor Lawrence was clearly the number one guy. And for Mac Jones to jump Justin Fields, I was cool with that too. Because I'm like, hey, Justin Fields, he fell off a lot in the draft, in like the buildup of the draft. Mac Jones and Zach Wilson were better prospects. It just seems like whenever there's a black quarterback who's like clearly the number one guy, they got to find a way to bring him down a little bit so that they could put a white quarterback up there. That's my biggest issue. All right, I've been going around in a circle. You can like this video if you want. I'm just kind of I saw this and it got underneath my skin. So I had to talk about it. We got a platform out here. Be sure to comment down below. I really do want to hear your thoughts. I want to have an open dialogue about these things. Don't just be like, oh, it's like, can we have like a civilized conversation in the comment section down below? I don't want to see any name calling. We're older than 4 and 5 year olds. Let's use our words and let's express how we actually feel eloquently. And I hope that y'all have a blessed rest of your day, and I'll catch y'all in the next video. Ciao.